Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first open session of week 4, module 6. My name is Arlette Macedo Ortega, and I'm very glad to be here with you in this last week of module 6. So let's start now. In this session, we'll see how to participate in the learning forum. We are also going to see how to participate in the Integrative Forum. Then we are going to look at how to do the integrative project. And at the end, we'll see some general issues. So let's get the ball rolling now. Let's start with the learning forum. What is the main objective of this forum? In this forum, you have to share your experience about learning English, and you have to make comments about the importance of using English in your life. So in your first entry, you are expected to answer these questions. The questions are, how much knowledge did you achieve in this module? And how much knowledge do you still have to achieve? So for answering this question, you can use these options. I have learned, or I learned in past simple, or in present continuous, I'm learning. Also, you can say, I still have to learn. The second question is, why is the learning of a second language useful for you? So you can say, learning a second language is useful for me because, and if you have many reasons, you can enlist the reasons using connectors. The first reason why English is important to me is. The second reason why English is important is, the third is, and finally. So this is just a suggestion, guys. You can take it or not, it's up to you. In your second participation, you have to check the comments of your classmates, and you have to identify similarities and differences. For example, hi Maria, I see that learning vocabulary is something that you want to increase. I also want to expand my vocabulary in English because, do you know any app to learn vocabulary in English? So this is one suggestion. Remember that you have to check your partner's comments and identify some similarities and differences or things that you have in common with him or her. And finally, guys, in your third participation in this forum, you have to respond the questions or the comments that your partners have made to you. So that is what you have to do in the third participation in the learning forum. As you can see, in this forum, you will have the opportunity to express your experience about learning English. And in your opinion, what you need to improve your English or increase your vocabulary. What about the Integrative Forum? The main objective of this forum is to use grammar, the grammar that you have learned in week 1, 2, and 3, and also the vocabulary, to introduce yourself. And you are also going to ask questions to your partners, and at the end, you will introduce one of your partners to everyone. So in your first entry, you have to say hi, say hello to everyone, and you have to introduce yourself. In the introduction, you need to include your name, the city where you are from, your age, and a place of interest that is in the place where you live. For example, hi, my name is Yvonne. I am from Toluca. I live in Toluca. Toluca, it's a city famous for its snow-capped volcano called Chinantecal, but it's better known as Nevado de Toluca. I am 35 years old. My birthday is on November the 21st, and I am a student at high school SEP. That's it. In your second entry or your second participation or contribution, you have to ask 5 questions to your partner in order to get to know him or her better. So in this part, you have to ask yes, no questions or WH questions. And here I have some links that might be helpful for you when you make your questions. Some questions that you can ask to your partners are you married? Do you have any brothers or sisters? Does your husband or wife work in an office? Do you travel by bus? Is your wife or husband older than you? So these are some examples of questions that you can ask your partners in your second entry. But let's see, what do we have? What do we have in these links? So let's give a click to these links. I'm just going to give a click to these links so that you can see what can you find in these links. So I'm going to copy the links and paste them in the chat and see what do we have. Okay, here we have the link. I'm going to give a click to it. And let's see what do we have. In this link, in the first link, guys, we have a brief explanation of what the yes-no questions are. The yes-no questions are those questions that expect yes or no as an answer. These questions do not take the question words when, what, or where, etc. So in this link, guys, you will see how to make yes-no questions and some examples of them. Here we have some yes-no questions in different tenses in English. For example, are you coming with us? This question is in present continuous. We also have, do you live in Chicago? This question is in present simple. Does she speak English? Yes, she does. This question is also in present simple. Did you meet John yesterday? This question is in past simple. So as you can see, all the yes-no questions start with an auxiliary. In the first, the auxiliary is the verb be. In the second is the auxiliary of present perfect. In the third is the auxiliary do of present simple. And then we have the auxiliary does, that is also the auxiliary of present simple for the third person of singular, like he, she, or it. And finally, we have a yes-no question with auxiliary for the past tense. Did is the auxiliary for the past tense. Next module, in module 7, guys, you will see how to use past simple and past continuous. But anyway, these are very useful. You know, these questions are very useful when you expect a short answer or you expect confirmation. Does Mike live with you? Let's suppose that a partner, one of your classmates, talk about Mike. So I can ask him or her, does Mike live with you? And that person can say, yes, he does, or no, he doesn't. Did Maya tell you she wasn't coming? This is a question in past simple, for example. So let's see. Present simple, do you speak English? Does she speak English? Well, here we have some examples of yes, no questions in present simple. Then we have in present continuous, present perfect, past simple, past continuous, and future. These are some basic English tenses that you need to know. Of course, in Module 7, you will see more English tenses. But basically, that is what you will find in the first link. Let's see what can you find in the second link. Let's go back to the presentation, guys. And in the presentation, as you can see, there is a second link. Let's see what do we have in this link. I'm going to copy this link as well and paste it in the chat. Okay, now it's in the chat. I'm going to give a click to it and I'm going to share screen with you so that you can see it. Now I have it here. And here it is. Questions, WH questions. Remember the WH questions. WH questions begin with what, when, where, who, whom, which, whose, why, how, etc. We use them to ask for information. The answer cannot be yes or no, because remember that they are not yes/no questions. So here we have examples. When do you finish college? Next year. Who is your favorite actor? George Clooney, for sure. How do we form WH questions? Well, we usually form WH questions with a question word plus an auxiliary that can be do, have, etc., plus the subject plus the main verb. So let's see. When are you leaving? This is a WH question. First, we start with the question word. Then we start with the auxiliary. After the auxiliary, we have the subject. And finally, we have the verb. So remember, this is the formula: question word, auxiliary, subject, and verb. Question word, auxiliary, subject, and verb. This is the formula to make a WH questions. We saw these questions last week, but anyway, it's important to remember how to make the WH questions. Remember the formula: question word, auxiliary. We have question word, auxiliary, subject, and verb, like you see in this case. If you want to make a WH question in negative, we have question word, auxiliary in negative, subject, and verb. In this case, we have an object pronoun after the verb. It's possible. The object pronouns, like me, this is an object pronouns, they usually go after a verb. So why didn't you call me? So how do we respond to the WH questions? Remember that when we ask a WH question, we have to respond with a long answer. Long answer. For example, where's the coffee machine? We expect an answer about the location of the coffee machine, because where, when we ask a question with where, we are asking about location. So we expect an answer about the location of the coffee machine. Where is the coffee machine? ¿Dónde está la máquina del café? Well, we can say it's by the entrance. ¿No? Está por la entrada. Or it's in the room next to the reception. Está en el cuarto cerca de o al lado de la recepción. How old is your dog? We expect an answer about the age of the dog. Remember that in English, how do we ask about age? ¿Cómo preguntamos la edad en inglés? Con how old. How old is your dog? she's about 5, or you can also say, I'm not very sure when you don't know the answer. Here we have more examples of WH questions. And we also have the intonation of how to read a question using a question word. Remember, guys, that the question words are always emphasized when you are pronouncing or when you are reading them. The question words are always emphasized, as well as the nouns, adjectives, and verbs. So for example, in this question, how was your weekend in Edinburgh? You can emphasize how, because it's a question word. You can emphasize weekend, because it's a noun, and you can emphasize Edinburgh, because it's another noun. We never emphasize prepositions. We never emphasize pronouns, or in this case, possessive adjectives, and we never emphasize auxiliaries in questions, okay? So that's very important to know when you are asking a question. Emphasize, give emphasis to the pronunciation of the question word. How was your weekend in Edinburgh? If you notice, I emphasize how. How was your weekend in Edinburgh? How is emphasized. Weekend is emphasized, and Edinburgh is emphasized. I didn't go to Edinburgh. Really? Where did you go? Where did you go? In this question, we also emphasize where and the verb, where did you go? We never emphasized auxiliary or subject. ¿Cuál es el auxiliar de esta pregunta? Did. ¿Y cuál es el sujeto? You. Nunca se enfatizan en la pronunciación en inglés. Solamente enfatizamos la palabra con la que empieza la pregunta y el verbo, sustantivo o adjetivo, nada más. So that is something that you have to know at the time of reading a question in English. But anyway, let's go back to the presentation. And as I was telling you, in the Integrative Forum, you have to ask your partners questions in English. You can ask them yes, no questions or WH questions. It's up to you. Here we have examples of WH questions. Where do you work? What does your husband or wife do? When is your birthday? How many children do you have? How old are you? Why did you decide to study high school SEP? Well, these are some examples of questions that you can ask to your partners. In your third participation, guys, you have to answer the questions that your partner asks you. What if nobody asks you questions? ¿Qué pasa si nadie les hace preguntas? ¿Cómo van a obtener su tercera participación? Recuerden que la tercera participación ustedes tienen que responder a las preguntas que te formulan tus compañeros. What if nobody asks you questions? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué pasa si nadie te pregunta? Bueno, muy sencillo. Ustedes me pueden escribir a mí para que yo les haga las preguntas, o bien ustedes escogen preguntas que alguien le hizo a otra persona. Entonces, ahí en su tercera participación, ustedes pueden hacer una nota que digan, nobody asked me questions, but I borrow Lucia's question. Puedes decir, nadie me hizo preguntas, pero tomé prestadas las preguntas de Lucía, por ejemplo, ¿no? Y contestas las preguntas que Lucía a lo mejor le hizo a alguien más. Pero como a ti no te hicieron preguntas y ya es viernes o ya es sábado y tú quieres terminar con tu tercera participación, bueno, entonces pueden hacer dos cosas. Una, escribirme a mí para que yo se las haga o bien tomar prestado las preguntas de alguien, pero sí poner una nota en la tercera participación y decir, nadie me hizo preguntas, pero tomé prestadas las preguntas de Lucía o del nombre de la persona, ¿ok? Nobody asked me questions, but I borrowed Lucia's questions, ¿ok? Borrow, recuerden que es pedir prestado. Entonces, pueden hacerlo con esa pequeña nota para yo saber que esas preguntas nadie se las hizo, sino que ustedes las están tomando prestadas de alguien más. Bueno, what about your last participation in this forum? In the last participation, you have to introduce at least one of your classmates. For example, Arnold doesn't like shopping, but he loves hanging out with friends. Arnold and his family usually go to the local park where they play football or basketball. Recuerden, chicos, que cuando presentan a alguien de sus compañeros es porque tienen información general de él o de ella y porque también tienen la información que él o ella contestó. Ustedes van a tomar en cuenta su información de su primera participación, que es cuando se presentan de manera general, y también van a tomar en cuenta la información que esta persona dio al momento de contestar preguntas que alguien le hizo. Entonces, van a tomar en cuenta, en consideración esas informaciones que nosotros tenemos en la participación 1 y en la participación 3, donde la persona contesta las preguntas que le hicieron. Tomando en cuenta esa información, ustedes van a poder contestar o van a poder realizar más bien la presentación de alguien de sus compañeros. Bueno, eso sería para la parte de el foro de integración. Now, let's see what the Integrative project is about. The name of the project is My Personal Blog. And you have something like this. You have to ask, you have to answer questions about yourselves, like what's your name? How old are you? What do you look like? What do you do? What is your marital status? Who do you live with? This is in the first part of your blog. Who is your favorite family member? Where are you from? What nationality are you? In the second part of your blog, you have to answer questions like this. Where do you live? How is your city? What places are there in your city? What activities can you do in your city? What do you like about your city? What do you dislike about your city? What do you do on weekends? Then you have to write in Spanish a paragraph about the way English can help you to develop yourselves in the personal, in the professional, or in the working fields. And remember that you have to record only the answers of part B in the blog. Only the answers of part B in the blog will be recorded. So let's see the questions one more time. To answer the questions in the first part of your blog, what's your name? There are two ways to answer these questions. Let's see. I am, or my name is. How old are you? Remember that in English we use the verb be to answer. Some people say I have 28 years old. That's incorrect. Remember that we use verb be. What do you look like? Esta pregunta se refiere, chicos, acuérdense, a cómo eres físicamente. Hay personas que se equivocan y piensan que esta pregunta significa ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo te encuentras? Pero no. What do you look like se refiere a cómo eres en términos de apariencia física. Entonces, aquí van a utilizar el verbo ser o estar y el verbo have. Recuerden que el verbo ser o estar lo utilizamos con adjetivos y el verbo have lo utilizamos con sustantivos. Por ejemplo, si yo estoy hablando de mi cabello, puedo utilizar I have brown hair. Tengo cabello café o mi cabello es café o tengo cabello café. Y si quieres decir más de dos adjetivos juntos, recuerden el orden de los adjetivos. Primero va el tamaño, I have long, luego va la forma del cabello, por ejemplo, lacio, straight, y hasta el último va el color. I have long, straight, brown hair. Con el verbo ser o estar utilizamos adjetivos. Por ejemplo, soy chaparrito, I'm short. Soy alto, I am tall. Soy un poco gordito, I am a bit chubby, etc. Ahorita lo vamos a ver el vocabulario. What do you do? ¿A qué te dedicas? What do you do? ¿Ok? Aquí podés decir I am a teacher or I work as a teacher. O si lo quieres decir en presente continuo, puedes decir I am working as a teacher right now. What is your marital status? Esta pregunta siempre se contesta con verbo ser o estar. Puedes decir I am single, I'm married, I'm divorced, I'm separated. Entonces puedes decir I'm married, I'm divorced, I'm separated. Who do you live with? ¿Con quién vives? I live with my parents and my brother and sister. Who is your favorite family member? My favorite family member is my grandma because she's very wise. Where are you from? I am from Toluca in the state of Mexico. What nationality are you? I am Mexican. Muchos dicen I am, pueden decir I am Mexican, pero muchos dicen, déjenme acordarme, lo dicen de manera un poco rebuscada. Pueden decir my nationality is Mexican, es posible, pero alguien, luego dicen I am of Mexican nationality y eso se oye muy rebuscado, chicos. Nada más digan I am Mexican, listo, I am American, I'm British, etc. Nada más. Después, recuerden, en esta parte ustedes tendrían que repasar los temas del verbo ser o estar, cómo conjugar el verbo ser o estar, cómo utilizar los adjetivos posesivos. Recuerden, adjetivos posesivos, my, your, his, her, our, their. Los adjetivos posesivos, recuerden que los utilizamos siempre con un sustantivo. Por ejemplo, my name, your nationality, his telephone number, her name, our house, their parents. Y vamos a utilizar también adjetivos calificativos. Aquí en esta liga ustedes pueden encontrar adjetivos calificativos para describir su personalidad. Vamos a ver cuáles son esos adjetivos calificativos. Vamos a ver adjetivos calificativos para describir personalidad. Vamos a darle clic a la liga muy rápido. Okay, guys, before we finish the first part of this session, I would like you to write your names in the chat. Antes de que terminemos la primera parte de esta sesión, me gustaría que escriban su nombre en el chat de esta sesión. les publiqué también una liga para que ustedes me indiquen si han participado, si han entrado a las sesiones abiertas de las semanas 1, 2 y 3. Esto es porque a partir de este módulo, chicos, hay una sección que dice calificar participación en las sesiones abiertas. Sé que no todos entran a la sesión, entonces, ¿qué pasa con aquellos alumnos que no entraron a ninguna sesión? No pasa nada, no se les va a dar calificación extra, ¿ok? A los alumnos que hayan entrado a las sesiones, alguna de las sesiones, se les puede dar una calificación extra. Esto yo no lo sabía hasta que esta semana tuvimos junta con el SAME y él nos indicó que teníamos que calificar a aquellos alumnos que entraron a sesiones de las semanas 1, 2, 3 y 4. Obviamente esta información yo no se las puse, no se las quise enviar a través del mensajero de la plataforma porque muchos alumnos no entraron a las sesiones y bueno, algunos iban a angustiar de no tener esa calificación, pero recuerden que no les perjudica, pero sí les favorece. O sea, no les perjudica si no entraron, pero sí les favorece a los que sí entraron. Es por eso que les estoy pidiendo su colaboración para que me pongan sus nombres. Y también si entraron a las sesiones pasadas, también espero que ya hayan contestado la liga. Es muy importante, chicos. Por esta razón que les estoy mencionando ahora. Y bueno, muchas gracias. Okay, guys, so now let's continue. In this link, guys, you'll see some vocabulary to describe a person in terms of personality. What I like about this link is that you have the word in English with the translation in Spanish, so you don't have to waste time to look up for the translation or the definition of the word. So for example, ambitious, in Spanish, we can say ambicioso, annoying, pesado. Bad temper, for example, malhumorado. Bitchy, bitchy, de mala leche o venenoso. Oh. Brave, valiente. Carefree, despreocupado. Cautious, prudente, cauteloso. Conservative, conservador. Crazy, loco. Cruel, cruel. We also have, for example, kind, amable, laid back, tranquilo, cheerful, alegre, charming, encantador, etc. So, as you can see, we have a big list of vocabulary to describe a person in terms of personality. You can use this vocabulary, guys, when you talk about yourself or when you talk about people that you know, to describe people that you know. For example, stubborn, terco, testarudo, sensitive, sensible, shy or introverted, tímido, vergonzoso, introvertido, weird, extraño, raro. And that's it. So this is the vocabulary to describe personality. Now, let's go back to the presentation. And we also have a vocabulary to describe a person in terms of physical appearance. We have already seen this vocabulary in the first week of this module. And we have here more vocabulary. For example, if you want to talk about your eyes, you can say, I have. Recuerden que para los sustantivos utilizamos el have. Por ejemplo, aquí estoy hablando de un sustantivo que es ojos. Y yo puedo decir que mis ojos son oscuros. I have dark brown eyes. Puedo decir que son angostos o pequeños. I have narrow eyes. Puedo decir que son amplios, grandes. I have wide eyes. Puedo decir que tengo ojos rasgados. I have almond-shaped eyes. O puedo decir que tengo ojos redondos. I have round eyes. eyebrows. Eyebrows quiere decir cejas. También lo utilizo con el have porque es un sustantivo. I have thick eyebrows, thin eyebrows, emphasize, space or near. Tengo cejas pobladas, thick. Tengo cejas no pobladas. I have thin eyebrows. O cejas bien marcadas. I have emphasized eyebrows. O tengo cejas, por ejemplo, una muy cerca de la otra, como las de Frida Kahlo. Puedo decir I have near eyebrows. Y también puedo describir mi cabello con have. I have blonde hair, I have shiny hair, I have wavy hair, I have greasy hair, short, long, I have curly hair, brush hair, dull, comb. Head también lo puedo escribir con have. I have brown hair, I have shave. Pero si eres calvo, puedes decir I am bald, con verbos ser o estar, porque bald es un adjetivo. Para describir tu nariz, tú puedes decir también con have. I have prominent nose, I have straight nose, I have pointed nose. Para describir tu complexión, complexion en inglés significa color de piel, ¿ok? Por ejemplo, I am pale, I am tanned, I am healthy. Aquí estamos hablando de adjetivos, ustedes utilizan el verbo ser o estar. Build. Ahora sí, para describir tu complexión. I am muscular. Soy musculoso. O I have average build. Or I am slim. Slim es un adjetivo, por lo tanto usan verbo ser o estar. Pueden usar este adjetivo, estos adjetivos, estas palabras, estos sustantivos, aparte de los que vimos en la primera semana. Si ustedes quisieran ver los adjetivos que vimos en la primera semana, pueden ingresar al foro de novedades y buscan la liga grabada de la primera semana y ahí viene la presentación en PowerPoint. En esa presentación de PowerPoint que les adjunté, ahí van a encontrar el vocabulario. Y después, en la segunda parte de su blog, tienen que responder estas preguntas. Where do you live? I live in. Muchas personas pronuncian live, pero live es en vivo y live es vivir. Entonces, sí existe la pronunciación live cuando lo estás utilizando como adjetivo. Por ejemplo, un concierto en vivo, a live concert. Pero en este caso estamos utilizando esta palabra como verbo, entonces la pronunciamos como live. I live in. How is your city? Aquí ustedes me van a describir su ciudad. ¿Cómo es su ciudad? Grande, pequeña, contaminada, bonita, etc. Ahorita vamos a ver adjetivos para describir lugares. What places are there in your city? Aquí van a utilizar there is, there are. Por ejemplo, there is a cathedral, there is a zoo, there are some museums, etc. What activities can you do in your city? In my city, people can. Aquí tienen que utilizar el can, por ejemplo, para hablar de las actividades que la gente puede hacer. Por ejemplo, people can go running in the parks. People can go skating, etc. Bueno, nos falta menos de un minuto para que termine la primera parte de la sesión. Recuerden que podemos entrar a la segunda parte con la misma liga. What do you like about your city? I like its, por ejemplo, me gusta su clima. I like its weather. Me gusta su gente. I like its people. Me gusta su tamaño. I like its size. O I like the fact that is, pueden utilizar un adjetivo.